Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday. Today we are learning Perek Dalid of Mishnayos Maaseros, Zechus Maaseros. Today's shiur is sponsored Lili Nishmas Aaron Nachum and Simcha Cohen, Yushel Mordechai ben Shepsel, Bracha Sarah Bashmol Leib, and Minah Moshe ben Yosef. May the Neshamas all have an aliyah. Mishnah Perek Dalid. Um, Starts off. It talks about other products, other activities that cause the maaser application to become set and therefore prohibit snacking. If you remember, in Perek Beis, we learned about three such things: bringing the produce into the courtyard, selling it, and separating the terumah from it. In this chapter, we're going to talk about other activities. Mishnah Aleph starts off: Hakovesh Hasholek Hamoleach. If someone pickles, partially cooks, or salts produce in the field, Chayef, he's obligated to separate maaser from the produce before he eats it as a snack. All these three actions set the maaser obligation of the produce. Ha mechamin be'adama pater. If someone buries produce in the ground to cause it to ripen, he is exempt from being maaser before he snacks in it. Hametabel beside pater. If someone dips produce into salt, brine, or vinegar while in the field, he is pater from being maaser as before eating it as a snack. Hapotea zeisim sheyetze mehem asraf pater. If someone crushes olives to remove their bitterness, he is exempt from separating maaser from them. Only pickling and cooking and salting set the maaser obligation. If someone squeezes the oil of olives onto his skin or to rub it in, he is pater from separating maaser before using it, even if he does so in his house. Since these olives were meant to be made into oil rather than to be eaten, their maaser obligation does not take effect until they are made into oil. However, if he squeezed the olives and collected the oil in his hand, he is pater. Sorry, he is chayiv. He's obligated to mafish maaser from the oil before using it, because the oil collected in his that's collecting because collecting oil in his hand is considered like collecting it in a small trough, and it's not considered fully processed. Hamekafe the tashil is someone skims the top of a cooked food to remove the grape seeds and skins that got into it from the unfinished wine he added to the food. Pater, he is pater from separating maaser from the wine before eating the food. Um, skimming the wine that's mixed with something else is not considered finishing the wine. The kedera chayv, if he pours the wine into an empty pot and skims it, he is obligated to be maaser before using it. Because the pot is treated like a small cistern, and therefore skimming the wine in the pot finishes it, and therefore it's chayv maaser. Okay, Mishnah Beis. Tinokos shetamnu te'enu l'Shabbos. If children hid figs to have as a snack for Shabbos, v'shichichu la'asra, and they forgot to separate maaser from them, lo yochlu moshe Shabbos ad sheyeh asru. The figs may not be eaten as a snack even on Moshe Shabbos until their maasers are separated. Since the figs became set for maaser when Shabbos began, they remain that way even after Shabbos ends. However, if it is only on Shabbos or after Shabbos that they may not be eaten as a snack, but until Shabbos begins, they may be eaten as a snack. Putting them away for Shabbos does not set the maaser obligation. Kalkel is Shabbos, a Shabbos basket, meaning a basket of fruit that a person set aside to eat on Shabbos, There's a machlokas. Vishamai potrin, Vishamai exempt the food from maaseros until Shabbos begins. Being that if he wanted to snack on some of the food before Shabbos, he does not have to get maaser from it. The Beis obligate him to separate maaser before eating any of it, even if he's eating it before Shabbos. Is he still, because that's considered a Shabbos basket and it's chayv and maaser right away. Rabbi Yehuda says, also, if someone picks a basket of fruit to send to his friend, it may not be eaten as a snack until a maaser is separated from it. Because once it has been set aside in a basket to send as a gift, the person doesn't usually change his mind about it, and therefore the maaser obligation takes effect immediately. Mishnah Gimel. Hanotel Zaysimin Amaitam. If someone takes olives from the vat in which they were placed to be softened before they are pressed, Tovel Echad Echad B'melech Ochel. He may dip the olives one by one in salt and eat them without separating maaseros. In Malach V'Nasil Nefanachayev. But if he salted an olive and placed it in front of him, and then salted a second olive, he is obligated to separate maaseros before eating them. Rabbi Lezer says, if a tamei person dips two or more olives that he took from a vat of olives, he is obligated to separate maaseros before eating them. And when a tamei butter, but if he dips two or more olives that he took from a vat of tamei olives, he is exempt from separating maaseros before he eats them. Because he returns the leftover olives that he does not eat to the vat. Since the olives in the vat are tummy anyway, there's no reason not to return leftover olives to the vat. And since he'll be putting back whatever he leaves over, even the olives he took were still considered part of the group, and therefore the maaser obligation does not become set until all the olives in the vat become subject to this obligation. Mishnah Dalet. Shosim al Hagas. A person may drink wine while leaning over the wine press. Bein al Hachamin. Bein al Hatzonin. Whether he mixes the wine with hot water or with cold water, pater, and he's pater from separating maaser from it. Because drinking wine over the wine press is considered drinking as a snack, but he cannot take the wine and drink it outside the wine press, because that would be considered regular drinking and not a snack. David Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Sadok, and Chayiv. Rabbi Lezer, the son of Rabbi Sadok, obligates him to separate maaseros from the wine even before drinking it. Even if he leans, he's Chayiv to. He says he's Chayiv to maaser from the wine before drinking, even if he leans over the wine press while he drinks, because we're concerned that they may take the wine out of the wine press and drink it there, which would be usher. The Chachamim say, Al Hachamim Chayiv, if he mixes the wine with hot water, he is Chayiv to do maaser before it, because he will not pour any leftover wine back into the wine press. That's just disgusting. About sonin pater, but if he mixes it with cold water, he is pater from separating maaser before drinking it, because he pours the leftover wine back into the wine press. Therefore, his drinking is considered snack, even if he drinks it outside of the wine press. Mishnah, hey, okay, two more to go. Hamekalif Seorim, if a person shells barley kernels, Mekalif Achas Ochel. He may shell and eat the kernels one by one without having to separate maaseros before, because eating in this way is considered snacking. However, if he shelled one kernel and put it into his hand, and he then shelled the second kernel, chayiv, he's chayiv to be mafish maaser before eating them, because shelling two of them are kernels together and then eating them is considered regular eating. Hamalel, melilus, shalchitim, the person rubs ears of wheat between his hands to remove the chaff from the kernels. Benafim yad, he may sift out the chaff by throwing the kernels from one hand to the other, so that the heavier kernels land in his hand, while the lighter chaff falls away. Ochel, and he may then eat the kernels without separating maasers. Eating the kernels this way is a form of snacking. But if he sifted the kernel in the manner described above and then put them in his lap, chayiv, he's chayiv to be mafish maaser for eating the kernels. Because gathering the kernels in his lap before eating them is a mark of regular eating and not snacking. Kuzbar, Shizara Lazera. Some planted coriander for its seed. Yarka Pater, its leaves are Pater from maaser. Since the seeds are the main part of the plant and the leaves are not considered important, they are not chayiv to maaser, even though they are edible. Zara Yarek, however, if he planted coriander for its leaves, Maaseros Zera Yarek. Maaseros must be separated for both its seeds and its leaves. Since he planted it with the intention of eating its leaves, they too are considered an important part of the plant and are subject to maaser. The seeds require maaser since they are always the main part of the plant. Rabbi Lezer says, Hasheves misasheres zera v'yarek v'zirin. Dill requires maaseros for its seeds, its leaves, and its stems, and even if it was planted without any special intention to use the leaves and stems. This is because some people do eat the leaves and stems. Therefore, all three parts of the dill plants are subject to maaseros. And the Chachamim say, "Heina misasher zera v'yarek ela shechlayim gargir bavad." There's no species that requires maaser for both its seeds and leaves, except for cress and garden rocket, whose leaves are commonly eaten by most people. I guess I'm not most people. I don't know what these things are. However, the leaves of other plants are grown for their seeds, including dill, are not eaten by most people. Therefore, the leaves are not considered the food of the plant and do not require maaser. And finally, Mishnah Vav, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, Tamaras shall tilton, shall chordal, shall pul, halavan, chayeves b'maaser. The buds of fenugreek, mustard, and of white beans are chayiv in maaser, because people normally eat these buds and they're also considered a food. Rabbi Lezer says, Hatzlaf misasher Tamaros avionos kafris. The caper bush needs to have maaser separated for its flower buds, its berries, and its husks, because people eat all three of these parts. Kiva says, Amos asher ela avionos. The caper bush does not need to have maaser separated for anything but its berries, with nesh and pri, as the berries are the fruit of the caper bush, not the flower buds and husks. That's the end of Perek Dalet. Tomorrow we will do Perek K and finish with Maseches Maaseros. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Kol Tov.